Given the money for the tobacco buyout in the Senate in Raleigh, I watched him help balance the budget and get rid of some really burdensome regulations on people. But the main thing about David, you'll know exactly where he stands every day. You'll know who he votes for and what he does. I've watched him since he was a little boy wet behind the ears. He'll make a great congressman, and I'm delighted at this time to recognize and honor David Rouzer.
Thank you. Let me ask you, are you ready to take this country back? Let me ask you one more thing. Are you tired of those nasty, negative ads? Especially that one that says, David Rouzer, don't take my Medicare. Well, let me tell you what we're going to take. We're going to take all the seats of those members who put this country in this mess. Including my opponent. Here's the bottom line. This country, in 2012, in just a few days, we're going to determine what kind of country we have. We're going to determine whether or not we continue down this path of more spending, more debt, and economic decline, or whether we get back to the principles of free enterprise and a much more limited government. And even more than that, get back to the moral and spiritual principles that made this country great. It is time for real solutions in this country. We can't continue this path. We have a $16 trillion debt, and when interest rates rise, that's going to become $32 trillion, which will quickly become $64 trillion. It is absolutely going to kill this country. We have a crisis with Medicare that goes bankrupt in 12 years. What's the Democrat solution? The do-nothing solution. That's what their solution is. They don't have one. And they vilify Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. Let me tell you, this country needs right now leaders who will stand up and do what is right and speak truthfully and honestly with the American people. And there's a lot of members in Congress, you don't know how they're going to vote. You call their office and they say, oh, I might vote for it, I might vote against it, I'm waiting to figure out what my leadership wants me to do, if there are going to be enough votes where I don't have to vote for it. That happens all the time. It's the case with my opponent in this race. Well, let me tell you something. If I have the honor and privilege to represent this district in the U.S. Congress, you will know where David Rouzer stands. Others may heave and haw and say, I don't know, not this senator. Because we've got to step forward, we've got to have real leadership if we're going to turn this country around. Just a few weeks ago, Speaker John Boehner came down to Wilmington. And he looked at an audience that was there, had a nice crowd, and an event for me. Very grateful for him coming to Wilmington. It shows the importance of this election in this state. This election for Congress has national implications. That's why it's rated one of the top 3 to 5 congressional races in the country. That's why it's about the 3rd most expensive race in the country. And he told the crowd, he said, you know, in 2007, I watched as Mike McIntyre voted for Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker. In 2009, I watched as Mike McIntyre voted for Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker. He said, folks, he said, I'm ready to have somebody who will vote for John Boehner to be Speaker. And that is the most significant difference in this race. A vote for my opponent is in essence a vote for Nancy Pelosi. And I can assure you, under no circumstances is David Rouzer voting for Nancy Pelosi. I'm not going to repeat that. Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Mike McIntyre, when we turn this country around, they're going to go. But I tell you what's going to make the difference here in the next few days before the election. And that's all of you. Each of you here in this room are going to decide how this election is going to go. Not only in my race, not only in Pat McCrory's race, not only in Judge Newby's race, and make sure you go and vote for Judge Newby. Everything good we've done in the state legislature is for naught if Judge Newby is not elected. Let me put it that plain and simple. You're going to be the ones who decide whether this area, whether Johnston County, Sampson County, Lenoir County, all the way down, you're going to be the ones who decide whether or not that first vote in Congress is cast for Nancy Pelosi or whether it's cast for John Boehner. So I need your help, I need your support, but more than anything, I need your prayers. I travel all across this district, and everybody comes forward and they say, David, you're going to win. And I say, how do you know that? I said, I believe it too, but I want to know how you know it. And he said, because we're praying for you and everybody who's running daily. That's what's going to turn this country around. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and God bless you. I've got one other duty tonight, and that's to introduce somebody who's very special to me. He's a good friend. He's a great friend in North Carolina. He has served this state admirably for a long time. I first met him in 1995 when I went up to Capitol Hill, and I was knocking on doors, and a fellow by the name of Jesse Helms offered me a job. And along the way, I met a special man by the name of Richard Burr. Richard Burr was newly elected to the Congress. He came in with that great wave in 1994, and I met him that January 1995. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know anybody who works harder, who is more diligent, who is more thoughtful, and who does what is right for this state and this country. Ladies and gentlemen, U.S. Senator Richard Burr.